Hello, kia ora, g'day. I'm Philip Duncan from Weather Watch TV on YouTube. Thank you for joining us for our special Monday update on Tropical Cyclone Alfred as it moves closer to Brisbane and the southeast corner of Queensland and the northeast corner of New South Wales. Here it is on the animated wind map for this morning. The worst of the winds still around the centre and mostly offshore, but you can see certainly those strong winds are brushing coastal parts of Queensland. If you're in some of the islands, the peninsulas, right along that coastal area, you'll be feeling those gusts coming through. Now the cyclone's technically just moving away from Australia at the moment. It's moving in a southeasterly direction. That's actually going to pull some of that wind away from land, although it is still going to be blustery here and there. And then over the next day or so, starts to curve back and move inland. This is the current thinking from the Bureau of Meteorology as far as their tracking is concerned. Was down to Category 1, up to Category 2, back down to Category 1, back up to Category 2 in the days ahead. So it's in that kind of, if it's a low-end Category 2 and a high-end Category 1, there might only be a few kilometres of an hour difference in wind speeds. So that's part of the reason where it's in that kind of zone between 2 and 1, but it does look as though, according to the Bureau, it does power up a little bit into back to Category 2 as it starts to move back inland with favourable conditions. Landfall around Maroochydore, that is the current thinking. That could easily change in the next couple of days ahead, all the way up to Bundaberg, all the way down to actually going into New South Wales. So the cyclone is likely to make landfall somewhere just north of Brisbane, but that could still change. And the other part to note, the worst of the wind, the worst of the rain is typically in that southwestern quadrant. So that actually means if it makes landfall around Maroochydore, then some of the worst weather might be south of there, not so much north of there, although everybody will be at risk. This risk zone here basically shows you all the areas that are at risk from wind damage once that system starts to move on in. Let's go to wave heights now, because there are sort of three parts to cyclones. You've got the waves, which expand out the furthest. You get the most damaging conditions from those swells for a long way out from the cyclone, hundreds of kilometres, if not sometimes thousands of kilometres away. You can get those swells moving out. Second part, that's the rain. That covers a large area. And then the very worst of the winds, they're usually right around the centre of the storm, right in this area here. So you've got kind of three different layers of damage that can come from that. And then, of course, the storm surge right in the middle. But the wave heights are really significant. 6-7 metres just here as of Monday morning. Maximum heights getting over 10 metres for some of those waves. So let's animate this for the next few days ahead. You can see it kind of weakens a little bit and then get some more power there where the waves are getting up to 10 metres for a time. Back again there with that darker part as it moves back inland. So Brisbane right here, Sydney's down here. So that's coming in, those biggest swells around parts of Brisbane and southwards further down and towards New South Wales. So this is certainly worth keeping a very close eye on. Even at the end of the week, as we go into Saturday, the leftovers, what looks like nothing on the map there, but there's still sort of 3-4 metre waves. So this is quite a large system. It's going to take quite a while for those waves to dissipate across this week. Anybody from Bundaberg all the way down to about Sydney should be aware of these waves that are coming through over the next few days. There's already been significant beach erosion. More is coming, and more of those dangerous waves as well, although surfers might not call them that. Here's Tropical Cyclone Alfred as we go into Tuesday morning. So offshore, worst of the winds here in the southwestern quadrant. You've got rain now starting to set in across parts of New South Wales and fading out the further north you go into Queensland. Let's go into Wednesday. This is when things start to actually change and you start to feel the cyclone coming into land. Computer modelling is in agreement that it's moving to the southeast and then going to curve around and move back in westwards. So here on Wednesday morning, you'll be feeling that rain pushing in and getting heavier across the day. Windy weather will pick up from the southeast to south to southeast, around parts of Queensland and going into New South Wales. And as the day goes on, those winds get stronger and stronger, especially closer to the centre. So that is places like Maroochydore, down to Brisbane, Surfers Paradise, up to about Bundaberg. Those are the areas that at this stage look most at risk for wind damage. But remember, it only takes the cyclone to track a little further south or a little further north, and all the damaging winds and the heaviest rain moves a little north or a little south with it. So that's part of the reason why the exact line matters. But once you figure out the exact line of where it's going, of where the centre's going to go, then you worry about all that severe weather around the outer edges of it as well. which brings us to Thursday. So we've got two computer models here. The white lines that aren't moving, that is GFS from America. The black lines that are moving, that is ECMWF out of Europe. They are remarkably aligned now. For the maps preceding where I'm showing you now, for the days just coming up before Thursday, they're basically in total agreement, but there's a slight bit of disagreement here coming into Thursday. That's very normal. It's mostly to do with timing. So it's pretty much nailed the location now. That's in agreement. The timing will be out by a few hours here. So the American model shows it coming in the early hours of Thursday morning. The European model shows it coming in towards middle of the day, later into the day. Heavy rain all the way down to the southwest rocks, even below that, maybe to Port Macquarie. You're seeing heavy rain all the way up to Bundaberg as well. Heavy falls setting in. The heaviest rain though, again, right around the centre. This is the most damaging part from Brisbane to Bundaberg. Based on the modelling here, that's the damaging part of the storm, with potentially the worst of the winds and rain just north of Brisbane. Now, as we go through into Friday, American modelling shows the cyclone leftovers inland, getting closer to places like St George. And then you've got the European modelling showing the cyclone making landfall in Brisbane. So there is a bit of difference here with the timing, whether it's Thursday or Friday, and whether it's further north of Brisbane or over Brisbane itself, or potentially even coming into New South Wales. There are still a few things to work out about the exact tracking of this, which is why we can't yet say which areas are going to be most exposed, but you're hearing it from us, you're hearing it from the Bureau of Meteorology, you're seeing it from the global modelling, that the areas most exposed, generally speaking, we'll say from Grafton up to about, well, we'll say Bundaberg still, because the wind could be up there, but certainly from Maroochydore into Brisbane, that does look as though that is the main risk area for now. And as we go into the weekend, it falls apart. So the low pressure cyclone has gone. Low pressure still sort of hanging around a little bit here on the border between Queensland and New South Wales. The heaviest rain is in New South Wales, but could still be raining a fair bit around Brisbane as well. You're seeing those rainfall totals over 150, 200 millimetres per day as it starts to move in, and then you get a thunderstorm on top of that, or the cyclone slows down a little bit and suddenly those numbers go up another 100 or 200 millimetres. If it speeds up and goes inland faster, your rainfall totals will come down. So that's still the information we've got to work out in the days ahead. So let's quickly have a look at rainfall. Here is the American modelling. This shows from Maroochydore all the way down to Southwest Rocks, or certainly for Coffs Harbour. This is the area with the heaviest rain. You're talking well over 300 millimetres in some areas, could be 500 millimetres coming through as a result of the cyclone slowing down and interacting with the hills. So that's the American modelling. We switch it to the European modelling. It's remarkably similar. That gives us confidence as weather forecasters to be seeing that. And again, from Maroochydore all the way down to Port Macquarie here, even getting very close to Sydney, although Sydney's still far enough south of it, still getting some rain down there, but the heaviest stuff in the dark blue here, these areas could be seeing 300 millimetres, 400 millimetres or more. And so the heavy rain is south of Maroochydore, but you might be getting the strong winds right smack bang there. So we've still got to work this stuff out. We'll be back again tomorrow with our next update for you, and we will join you then. Thank you very much for all the comments that we've seen on YouTube over the last day or so. We're sorry we can't write to every one of you, but thanks for all the feedback. Keep the local weather updates coming. We'll join you again tomorrow, Tuesday, for our next Tropical Cyclone Alfred update. We'll see you then.